Hello everyone, I'm your Chinese teacher YiMu. This is the third section of our Chinese Pinyin series. In the process of learning, if you have any question, please leave me a message or send me a private message. Let's cheer together and make progress together. As predicted last class, in addition to the 6 simple phonemes in the Chinese Pinyin, we also have some compound phonemes and nasal phonemes. Compound phonemes and nasal phonemes only need to slide from the pronunciation of the first letter to the pronunciation of the second letter. Of course, first mobilize your memory to read this basic simple phoneme. Come on with me. A, O, I, U, U. For many students, the sound U is difficult to pronounce. You must practice more. The sound of U often determines whether you speak Chinese well or not. Then let's take a look at these compound phonemes. Note here that these syllables in brackets are what this syllable is. They're just to help us pronounce. When we write, we should write it like this outside the brackets. Try read them with me. I'll read them for the first time and pay attention to the shape of my mouth. Okay, let's go. I, A, V, O, U, Y, R. Maybe these phonemes here are difficult for you. Don't worry, I'll tell you what the method is later. Well, after listening to these phonemes, you should think they are very simple. Just slide from the first to the second. Let's have a try. I, A. Notice here that in the brackets is what it looks like. So let's try to read it. U, A, V. The A here has just been read. So the pronunciation of the first line is like this. I, A, V. Here you can pause and try the following content. Okay, let's read them together. O, U, Y, R. Pay attention to the third sound. How should this sound be made? We notice that there is a letter here that we haven't seen it. Of course, we'll see it in the later initials, but here, it doesn't read the sound when it was the initial. Notice that this symbol here represents a rolling tongue. For example, this is your tongue. We need to roll your tongue up when we make this sound. Watch it. So, if you can't pronounce this sound, you just need to roll your tongue up to read it. Let's try again. Roll up the sound made by your tongue. Very good. Some students should have been able to pronounce it. If you still don't get it right, then you must practice more times. Let's read all the compound finals. I, A, V, O, O, U, Y, Very good. What are these compound finals like in syllables or on Chinese characters? Let's have a look at these examples. Here you may find that they have no initials. There are some zero-initials syllables in Chinese, but it doesn't matter. You just have to read these syllables normally. Remove the initial part. For example, the first one. I. Okay, next. Lay. Kui. There are two words phrased below. You don't have to worry. Just read individual words separately and put them together. For example, this word. 白西约雪白雪 Some student may want to ask, which sound is this initial? Of course, it's the sound of Where is this point? Yes, we talked about it last class. When is 鸡七夕 behind, remove the 2 points above. So let's read it again. 雪白雪 Okay, the following pronunciation, let's spell it directly. Follow me.内内部归来 Well, here's another zero initial syllable. Pay attention to read it. Follow me. 袄 漏 酒 老 头 老头 开 口 开口 牛 奶 牛奶 街 虐儿街街道西约学习学习而且 Okay, if you have any question about this pronunciation here, you must review our courses and practice more. So, next, let's continue. We also have some nasal phonemes. The nasal phonemes here is also a difficult point for most of us. Well, notice that the line above is different from the line below. It's obvious that the above line ends with n. The next line ends with this letter. In Chinese, the above line is called anterior nasal phonemes, and the next line is called the posterior nasal phonemes. As the name suggests, anterior nasal phonemes, that is, when the airflow vibrates in the nasal cavity, it is closer to the front. The posterior nasal phonemes is more backward. Let's try to read it. Listen to me first and look at my mouth. In, when, yun. The airflow vibration here is concentrated in this part. So the following in, on. Do you feel more backward and have gone in? When you read, you should pay attention and not get confused. For the Chinese in some areas, among their dialects, it's also indistinguishable between anterior nasal phonemes and posterior nasal phonemes. It's a difficult point for some Chinese people, so we must, come on, read it with me. In, when, yun, in, on. Very good. Notice here, let's compare them. On, in, when, yun, on. Such a comparison, we should be able to clearly find their differences. Next, let's look at some examples. Longer words appear here, but don't worry, no problem for everyone. Okay, let's look at the first one. 安静，安静，恩情，恩情，今天，今天，困难，困难，钢铁，钢铁，能力，能力，请进，请进，工具，工具，天安门，天安门，龙卷风，龙卷风，简单爱，简单爱，听妈妈的话，听妈妈的话。Here are several words that are the some name of a very famous singer in China. If you are interested later, please listen to more Chinese songs. If you still have difficulties, please practice more. Because as we learn more, there will be more and more syllables in the back, so we should pay attention to them. We learn the word pinyin in these classes. Of course, it's also explained how to pronounce through a lot of content. The pronunciation of the letter in the picture has been learned, except those circled. So next class, we'll focus on how to pronounce these circled words. I see these sounds are difficult. How hard is it? Because they are very difficult, we must find the right method and practice more. So that's all for today's class. I'll see you next class. Thank you. Bye.